Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and you're watching Step Ladder, and I hope that you all are doing fine and good. And in this session we are going to discuss and learn about the 15th lesson from your class 10th NCERT CBSE biology part from your science class 10 textbook, and this is going to be the part 1 of your lesson 15, that is your our environment lesson. And this video is going to be the part 1 of this series, and let's start our video without much delay. So let's start our video with this amazing quote given by Google CEO and Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai. So he says that wear your failures as a badge of honor. So let's start our day with this amazing quote. So even you can apply this quote in your life to succeed in your life. Okay guys, without much delay, let's start our session. So in this session we are basically going to learn about the ecosystem and its components. So today we are going to learn about the ecosystem and the components of ecosystem. So these are the things that we are going to learn today. And first we need to understand what do we mean actually by environment, and what is habitat, and what is ecosystem. So first we should be thorough with the definitions of these terminologies, right? So let's see the definitions of these terminologies so that we can have a better idea and better knowledge about this concept that we are going to learn today. Okay, so what is environment? So environment, it is a place or it is a surrounding in which a person or an animal or a plant or any living organisms that can live, and it operates, it behaves and it does everything whatever it wants in the environment. So this is the definition for your environment. And your habitat, it is a natural home or an environment of an animal, plant or organism. So this is the definition for your habitat. I guess this concept is clear very well, and I hope so. So let me move on with the next concept in this series. Okay, before going into the concept, I want to show you a gif about environment. So as you can see, this is the Amazon rainforest that is situated in your Brazil, right? So as you can see here, this is your environment view, right? Okay, now let's move on with the concept. So as we discussed and learned about the definition, and we actually understood what is environment and what is habitat, right? And now let us see what is ecosystem and its components. So first of all, ecosystem, it includes both the biotic and abiotic components or abiotic components. So what is this biotic and abiotic components? So these are the two components of your ecosystem. So your biotic and your abiotic are the two components of your ecosystem. So your ecosystem includes both the living creatures, living organisms, as well as the non-living organisms. So biotic means living and your abiotic means non-living organisms or non-living things. Got it? So your ecosystem includes both biotic and abiotic components. And the second thing is, in a given area, all the living things such as plants, animals and organisms interacting with each other and also with their non-living environments. This is weather, earth, sunlight, soil, climate, atmosphere. So even these things are included in your ecosystem. So this is your ecosystem all about. I guess the whole funda is clear very well. The whole concept is clear, and I hope so. With this clarity, let me move on with the next concept. So the next concept is nothing but it is related to your components of your ecosystem. So as I said before in the previous slide itself, that you have two components of your ecosystem. That is your abiotic component and your biotic components, right? So you have two components, that is abiotic and biotic components. So what is basically abiotic components? So as I said before that, abiotic, so abiotic means it includes all the non-living creatures or non-living things. So that is your abiotic components, which includes non-living stuffs. Got it? So that is your abiotic components. For example, temperature, soil, minerals, rainfall, wind, etc. Okay, so these are some examples of your abiotic components. So your abiotic components, even the biotic components, they require the abiotic components, and hence this forms your ecosystem. So these are like they are interrelated, right? So they interact with each other, both the biotic and abiotic components. So now let us see what is biotic component. So as I said before that biotic, it means that living creatures or living things, right? So basically your biotic components are living things like we humans, animals, birds, etc., and even green plants. So these are some examples of your biotic. So biotic components means these are the living creatures or living organisms that interact with the abiotic components like temperature, soil, weather, etc., and hence this forms your ecosystem. I guess this concept is clear very well. So let me move on with the next concept. So I guess it's clear. Remember that you have two components of ecosystem. One is your abiotic and the another one is your biotic. So abiotic means it is all about your non-living things or non-living stuffs, while your biotic means it's about living things, and they both are interrelated to each other. They both interact with each other. Hence, when these two components interact with each other, it forms your ecosystem or your environment. So basically you can call it as environment. Okay, so let me move on with the next topic. So as we saw before the two components of your ecosystem, now let us see the two modes or ways or types of nutrition in animals and plants. So you have basically two modes of nutrition in both your plants and animals. That includes your autotrophic and your heterotrophic nutrition. So you have two modes of nutrition, that is your autotrophic nutrition and your heterotrophic nutrition. So from the word autotrophic, you can understand it is related to your autotrophs, right? So as you know that autotrophs are those organisms that can prepare the food on their own. So those organisms are called as your autotrophs, which are basically the producers. So basically your autotrophic nutrition, when it comes, you can see these three categories. That is your autotrophs, independent, and producers. So these are three things that comes in your mind when we are talking about autotrophic nutrition. So autotrophic nutrition it is a mode of nutrition in which the autotrophs or the green plants or certain bacteria they go on with the process of photosynthesis. It means that they produce or they prepare their own food on their own, and hence this type of nutrition is called as your autotrophic nutrition. And basically your autotrophic nutrition involves autotrophs, in which when plants prepare their food, the end product here it's going to be your starch or sugar, right? So here it's going to be your starch or sugar. You can call it as glucose also, right? So this is your autotrophic nutrition. I guess this concept is clear, and the examples are your green plants, and some bacteria that are able to prepare their own food. They can prepare their food on their own. So I guess this is clear. Now let's move on with heterotrophic nutrition. So heterotrophic nutrition. So whenever we are talking about heterotrophic nutrition, even here also you get these three things in your mind. That is heterotrophs, dependent, and consumers. So as you know that heterotrophs are those organisms that consume or that gets the food from the autotrophs, right? So those organisms are called as your heterotrophs. For example, these are animals and human beings, etc. Right? So we human beings and animals, they are dependent on the autotrophs for the food, to get the food, right? And hence we are called, and the animals are called as consumers. I guess this is also clear. And now let us see what is your heterotrophic nutrition. So heterotrophic nutrition is a type of, it is a mode of nutrition in which the heterotrophs or the organisms that cannot produce or prepare the food on its own, it gets or it consumes the food from the autotrophic, from the autotrophs or from the green plants, and hence this type of nutrition is called as your heterotrophic nutrition. And lastly, we know that hence in this nutrition the food is not prepared by the organism on its own. Hence the food, the organism gets the food from the autotrophs. So these are the two main modes of nutrition which can be seen in both the animals as well as in plants. I guess this concept is clear very well, and I hope so. So with this, let me move on with the next concept. And if you have any doubts regarding any of the topics or any of the concepts, if you didn't understand, then please comment it in the comment section. I'll try to check all your doubts and I will try to revert them back. I'll try to clarify all your doubts. Okay, now let me move on with the next topic. For example, if you visit a garden, you will find different plants such as grasses, trees, flower-bearing plants like rose, jasmine, sunflower, and animals like frogs, insects, and birds. All these living organisms interact with each other, and their growth, reproduction, and other activities are affected by the abiotic components of ecosystem. So a garden is an ecosystem. Other types of ecosystems are forests, lakes, and ponds. These are natural ecosystems, while gardens and crop fields are human made artificial ecosystems, right? So here you can observe that gardens and crop fields, they are made by humans, right? It is constructed or it is designed or developed by human beings, and hence it is called as your artificial ecosystem. So hence it is called as your artificial ecosystems. So this paragraph, I read this paragraph just to make you all guys understand about the difference between your abiotic and biotic components. And hence when these two components, when they interact with each other, it is your ecosystem. So remember that point. Got it? Okay. Now let me move on with the next concept here. So as we saw before that, we saw the two modes of nutrition, right? So here you can see one more type, one more mode of nutrition, that is your saprophytic nutrition. So in saprophytic nutrition, so from the word saprophytic you can understand, it's related to your saprophytes, right? So it's basically related with your saprophytes. So saprophytes are those organisms or plants, green plants or fungi, and some microorganisms, it can be any kind of bacteria, that feed on the dead and decaying material or any waste material. Okay, so these are called as your saprophytes. And getting food from those dead and decaying material or any decaying organism, this is called as your saprophytic mode of nutrition. I guess this concept is clear very well, and in the definition itself I gave you the example for your saprophytes. So these are green plants, some fungi, and some bacteria. Some bacteria are also saprophytes, and some microorganisms that feed on the dead and decaying material. Hence these organisms are called as your saprophytes. I guess this topic is clear. Now let us see what is decomposers, or what are decomposers, right? So decomposers, so from the word decomposers you can understand decomposers can be those organisms that does the process of decomposition, right? It decomposes something, so hence those organisms are called as your decomposers. Now let us see what actually your decomposers, what they do actually. So your decomposers, they basically the decomposers are basically those organisms that breaks down the organic or inorganic or even waste material into a useful material that contains nutrients. And for example, you can see humus in the soil, right? So those organisms, they even they produce humus to the soil. So the green plants, they absorb those nutrients that are released by your decomposers as humus. So that is your humus, and they use for their growth. So the plants, they even consume the humus that is released by your decomposers for their growth, and even these nutrients gets into the soil. So hence your decomposers are those organisms that breaks down the organic or inorganic or even the waste material, and it makes into it makes those organic material or compounds into a nutritious stuff, and that is used by your green plants, as well as it gets into your soil for the better growth of your plants and other trees. So some examples of your decomposers are your bacteria, worms, slugs, and snails. Even you can add on with earthworms. Even these are decomposers, right? I guess this concept is clear very well. So let me move on with the next concept. Okay, now what we are going to see is all about the classification of your organisms. So your organisms can be classified, or they can be grouped into three categories. That is your producers, consumers, and your decomposers, right? So producers, consumers, and decomposers. So as we talked earlier itself about decomposers, right? So examples are your fungi and some bacteria, worms, etc., etc. So I'm not gonna talk about the decomposers as of now. So now let's discuss about producers and consumers. So as I said before, producers are basically your autotrophs. So the organisms that can prepare food on its own, and they are basically independent. So remember these 3 points. So they are autotrophs, they are independent. So hence this comes under the category of your producers. So producers, are those organisms that can produce or prepare food on its own with the help or with the presence of sunlight, air, and water also. Fine. So that comes under your producer category, and some examples for your producers are your green plants, some bacteria and your green plants. These are some examples for your producers. I guess this concept is clear. Now let me move on with your consumers. So as I said before, that consumers are basically your heterotrophs, right? So remember these three keywords, because these three keywords are going to help you a lot. As I said, that consumers, they are basically your heterotrophs, and they are dependent. So they are dependent on what? They are dependent on your producers or the autotrophs. So your consumers are those organisms that consume or that gets its food from the autotrophs, and hence these organisms comes under the category of your consumers. So you can call these organisms as consumers. So examples of consumers are we human beings, humans, animals, some birds, etc., etc. Got it? So as you can see from this image that we human, you can see a small baby, you can see a dolphin, fish, lion. So these are some examples for your consumers. So as we have discussed earlier itself about the decomposers, so I guess the concept is clear very well. I guess these three things are very clear. So let me move on with the next concept. So as we saw that we can classify the organisms into three categories. We can even classify your consumers into into four categories. So that is your herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, and your parasites. So your consumers can be classified or can be grouped into these four categories. That is your herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, and parasites. And your parasites can be classified or grouped into three main types. That is your protozoa, helminths, and ectoparasites. So these three are the three main types of parasites. This is not given in your textbook, so you can have a note, you can make a note of this so that it will be useful for your board examinations. So what are the three main types of parasites? That is your protozoa, helminths, and your ectoparasites. Now, first we need to know what is herbivores, what are carnivores, omnivores, parasites, and their examples. And if we are thorough with these things, see, basically in this lesson, this is a very easiest lesson and very simple lesson. If you are thorough with all the terminology and the types of those terminology, their definition, their examples, then this lesson is gonna be super easy. You're gonna rock in this lesson. So remember that you should be thorough with all the definitions, examples, and the terminology, and easily you can understand the concept if you are thorough with it, right? So what are herbivores? So herbivores are those organisms that eats only green plants. So organisms that eats only grass or green plants, that comes under the category of your herbivores. For example, your cow, buffaloes, etc. So these are some examples for your herbivores. I guess herbivores is clear. Now let us see what are carnivores. So carnivores are those organisms or those living things or living species that eats the flesh or the meat of another organism so that is your carnivores. I guess this is clear. So let us see what is omnivores. So omnivores, it is the combination of your carnivores and herbivores. It means that omnivores are those organisms that eats or which consumes as its food both plants and both plants and the plants or grasses and the flesh of other organisms. It means that it's veg and it eats both veg and non-veg, right? Now what are omnivores examples are we humans. We are the best examples for omnivores, right? So what are parasites? So parasites are those organisms that it stays or it gets into the organism. So it lives in the host, right? And then from inside the body of the host, it consumes the food. So those organisms are called as your parasites, right? So as I said that parasites can be your worms, right? So we have many we have many worms inside our stomach that eats the excess food or it eats our food that gets into our stomach, right? So that is an example for your parasites. Even mosquitoes are some examples. So they eat, they drink the blood of the human beings, right? Or some animals, and that is the food of your mosquitoes, right? So as I said before that parasites can be of three main types, that is your protozoa, helminths, and ectoparasites, right? So protozoa, helminths, and ectoparasites are the three main types of your parasites. I guess these four categories are clear very well. And now let us see scavengers. So when we are talking about decomposers and scavengers, you will be like both decomposers and scavengers, they do the same work, right? So it looks similar, right? So what are scavengers actually? So basically your scavengers are those animals or organisms that feeds on carrion, dead plant material refuse. So what they do actually is they feed on dead and decaying animal or plant. Okay. So that is the food. They clean the environment. Actually, your scavengers and your decomposers, they actually clean your ecosystem. That is the most important point that you should note. Both your scavengers and your decomposers, they clean your environment. So examples of your scavengers are your vultures, raccoons, etc. Got it? So I guess this funda is also clear very well, and I hope so. Let me move on with the next concept. Okay, so the next concept is your HOTS question, right? So these are the two important HOTS question that is given in your textbook. So even you can make a note of these two questions. So the first question says, why we should not leave the aquarium as such after we set it up? Why does it have to be cleaned once in a while? Do we have to clean ponds or lakes in the same manner? Why or why not? So this is the first question. So these two questions, the answer for both the question is same. Only difference is the question, the way it is asked, only that way is different. Got it? So I guess you all can write the answer for this question, but then also let me explain you about the answer of these two questions. So actually what the first question says is, why we should not leave the aquarium as such after we set it up. So the reason for this is, when you leave the aquarium without cleaning it, the fish or the things that you the fish and all those organisms that are inside your aquarium, they start they started to die. They will start to die, as there will be no decomposer, right? So when you are not cleaning it, it becomes very you'll get bad smell and all those things, and hence ultimately the fish and other organisms that are in the aquarium, they die, and hence when there is no decomposer to decompose the dead remains and the decaying material, this causes a bad smell, and hence there are no decomposers. So we should clean the aquarium on the daily basis, right? So we should clean the aquarium. We should not leave it as such. After setting it up for one time, we should not just leave the aquarium just keeping all the fish and all those whales and all inside, and you are not even cleaning, and you are not bothered about it. If you are not going to clean it, because it is not like a natural one like ponds and lakes, because in ponds and lakes you naturally have your decomposers that can clean up the dead remains and decaying material of the organisms. Hence this is the answer for your first one. And the second answer is also very similar and simple. What will happen to the garbage and dead animals and plants in the absence of decomposers? Will the natural replenishment of the soil take place even if decomposers are not there? The answer would be no. If decomposers are not there in your environment, then who's gonna decompose all the waste and decaying dead materials remains and all? Who's gonna decompose and make it into useful nutritious stuff that is used by the plants, and even it gets into the soil, right? So I would say the answer is no. So when when the decomposers are not there in the ecosystem, then ultimately the producers are not gonna get enough nutrients from the soil, as decomposers are not there, and hence sometime the animals, even their dead remains, it remains on the same floor of the land, right? And hence those dead remains and materials, they are not converted or they are not released as nutrients to the soil. Hence the answer is no. If decomposers are not there, your producers are going to die, or even they are not going to grow, as they do not get enough or sufficient nutrients, right? So this is the answer for your second question. Now this is the homework. So I gave you 2 questions as the homework. You can even complete these 2 questions answers. Please post the answers in your comment in the comment section if you can post it, and I'll try to check all your answers and revert them all back. Okay guys, that's it for today. This is the part 1 of this series, our environment. So I will meet you all in my next video. Until then, bye bye, take care, stay tuned. But before that, please like the video, please share with your friends, please comment it in the comment section. I'll try to clarify all your doubts regarding this video. I'll try to check and revert all your suggestions and opinions. If you want to suggest, and if you have any opinions, please post it in the comment section. I'll check all your comments, and please do not forget to hit the bell icon given below to get all kinds of notifications from my YouTube channel. And please like the video, share the video, comment, and please do not forget to subscribe my YouTube channel for more videos and notifications, because your one subscription means a lot to me guys. Please subscribe my channel, because only then you're gonna receive these kinds of amazing and useful notifications and videos from my channel. Okay guys, until then, bye bye, meet you all in my next video. Stay tuned, take care.